The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max NXT Review.
And we are live to tape on the W2M Network with the Wrestling to the Max NXT review. I'm so thrown off already because I'm not used to doing these. Here for the W2M Network, April 18th, 2018 is your show day. We are recording this on April 20th. Long week, what can we say? Before I get started, the first thing you will notice is I am not Gary Vaughn. Gary had a family emergency. We don't know when Gary will be back. We don't know if Gary will be back, but we send our best wishes to him and his wife.
Yes, and his new babies.
I know I bust Gary's stones about Amanda being way out of his league here, but my best wishes and thoughts to the family right now. As through what they're going through right now, I wish them nothing but the best.
Yes.
So, for Gary Vaughn, I am your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. You will know me from the Wrestling to the Max SmackDown Live and 205 Live reviews, though not this week.
Just when you thought you had the week off, you get pulled back in.
I was just about to quote The Godfather. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. The voice that you're hearing there is my co-host and traditional NXT host these days, Brandon Biskobing. Hi, Brandon.
You're not going to do our normal shtick on this?
That shtick is reserved for people that they have to listen to the Tuesday episodes.
Okay, fair enough.
We're doing this on short notice, so I didn't have time to think of one off the top of my head. How about this? The Tommaso to my Johnny.
That actually works.
I am the babyface.
For now.
This is your WWE NXT review for the first episode of NXT back at Full Sail after what many are calling the best NXT takeover event ever, Takeover New Orleans. It is really hard to argue about that, Brandon, with three different matches cracking the 4-star level at Takeover New Orleans.
And weren't 2 5 stars?
Meltzer gave both the opening ladder match and the finishing Gargano-Ciampa match 5 stars. He put the NXT title match at 4 1/4.
Yep. And I think this is the first show that they're back in Full Sail for a while, because they were in Atlanta before this, weren't they?
The prior tapings right before Takeover New Orleans were in Full Sail.
Oh, okay, never mind. You're right.
The 3 weeks of television right before Takeover New Orleans were taped at Full Sail. Well, the most over man in the building starts off the show tonight, but before we get to that, we see a Rest in Peace Bruno Sammartino graphic here, and the rumors are, Brandon, that they're going to be doing some kind of documentary piece after Raw on Monday night for Bruno. I expect a massive tribute to Bruno during Raw as well.
Oh, of course.
And if they don't, shame on them.
Shame.
That being said, Bruno, 82, and got to live one hell of a life.
Mm-hmm.
Rest easy, legend.
Indeed.
All right, so, as mentioned, the most over man in the Full Sail arena is and has been Johnny Gargano for the longest time. He and his wife, Candace Wrestling, are out to talk about everything that has gone on over the course of the last couple of months. The whole situation with Johnny and Andrade Cien Almas, perpetrated by the situation from the man whose name he could not say for the longest time, Tommaso Ciampa. At TakeOver, in the most grueling 37 minutes, and yes, that does check out, 37 minutes, 26 seconds of his career, Johnny overcame the odds and is back where he belongs. First of all, your thoughts on the NXT TakeOver special, because I don't know if you guys did a TakeOver review or not.
We did do it, or actually, I was not on it, but I think they did end up doing a TakeOver review, like really late that night or something.
All right, well, what were your thoughts on Johnny and Tommaso at TakeOver?
It was a great match. First off, I was so glad because I mentioned this on the review prior to TakeOver that this definitely needs to be the main event, and it was, which is completely fitting for this feud. And it was a great match in so many different ways. You had some great spots, some great usage of toys, and just an overall great match. Definitely deserved the 5 stars.
I don't agree that it should have been the main event, but I understand why it was, because there's no way, as over as Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas are with the NXT crowd right now, there is no way they would have been able to follow the emotional performance that we got from Gargano and Ciampa. So Gargano talks about the fact that there's still a monkey on his back in regards to this whole situation here, and that is when Candace takes the microphone and tells everybody that our main event for the evening, and we'll do our shtick when we get to it, is going to be the in-ring NXT debut of Candice LeRae as she takes on the in-ring NXT debut of Zelina Vega. Yeah, funny story about that whole Zelina in-ring debut thing. We'll get to that when we get to the match. Our opening contest, scheduled for one fall, is the NXT Full Sail debut. Well, kinda, sorta, ish. I mean, he did work a couple of dark matches, but because they needed him to do so for the video.
Television debut.
His television debut for the one and only, and that is his nickname for some damn reason, Ricochet, as he takes on the guy in the Cruiserweight Classic who surprised a lot of people by being as athletic as he is with as bulky as he is, and has stuck around in NXT since then, Fabian Aichner. The match goes about 4.5 minutes. Ricochet picks up the win with the 630 senton. It is not a splash, it is a senton, and it is a thing of beauty because he nailed that thing perfectly.
I'm impressed with you that you remembered that he was in the CWC.
I do my homework.
Oh, okay.
I also did watch the CWC, so I'm quite aware.
Did I.
But anyways, here, what did you think about Ricochet and Aichner?
I mean, I liked it. It was a good match. I like that they're actually allowing Ricochet to really show. I mean, this is NXT, so it's the real test is going to be once he gets called up to the main roster. But I'm glad that he's still the Ricochet that we all know and love. He's still, the very high flying, doing handsprings, all of that. So, and he's still doing the 630 senton. The really good thing about it is that it definitely seems like they're pushing Ricochet hard right out of the gate. And I think he'll be a champion of some sort within a couple of months.
Well, the rumor is the planned feud for Ricochet going forward is none other than probably the most, how do I put this here? The biggest surprise to me in NXT, the rumored feud for Ricochet going forward is Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Which, can work for both of them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think it works here because you continue Velveteen is almost the new Baron Corbin of NXT, the guy who's getting pissed off about the indie guys coming in and trying to take his spot. Mm-hmm. And you have Ricochet there who works so well with bigger opponents here. I mean, let's look at some of the matches that Ricochet had against a guy like a Claudio Castagnoli, now known to WWE fans as Cesaro. Mm-hmm. So this is a guy who can clearly work with bigger opponents, and Velveteen's a larger guy, even though they're probably about the same weight-wise. Velveteen has some height on him, it'll make for a size disparity that the fans can rally behind Ricochet for. Mm-hmm. Aichner strikes me as somebody who has a lot of potential if they can stick to it with him there. He's looked competitive in most of the matches that he's had since the Cruiserweight Classic. Obviously, he has a look that they like. He's clearly willing to learn here, and despite the fact that he's being put into the ring with some of these bigger names here, Ricochet here, Gargano before, Almas before, I want to say he was in the ring with one of the other recent call-ups. I think he may have gotten Aries on one of Aries' few NXT matches.
He was, yeah.
So Aichner is clearly somebody that they have some faith in down there, and he's somebody that you could definitely see making a name for himself going forward in NXT as well once they find something for him that works as far as a storyline or a gimmick or a character or whatever have you.
Well, that's the big key for him is that, he needs to actually be more than just, basically right now I would describe him as a glorified jobber. Because he doesn't really have any character. He's just coming out there and having a match.
I would make the argument you could call him JTTS.
JTTS?
Jobber to the Stars.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't quite go that far because, he's, has he ever really done anything besides just coming out and losing? At least on TV.
He may have won a match or two early in his NXT run, but I know most of the big matches that he's had, he's come up on the short end of.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you mentioned the fact that you thought Ricochet was somebody that they had big plans for. How about the video package for the next person that they obviously have big plans for now that he's back in NXT?
Oh, God.
I mean, he is in the top 1%. Do you not like EC3?
No, I do not.
Well, that is your problem because he's awesome.
I've never liked EC3.
I'm sorry to hear that. You have my condolences.
I just know he's going to get on my nerves. He's going to replace Almas as my new most hated guy in NXT.
See, I hated Almas too, but I loved him at the same time. He was that guy that you love to hate.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I know you're about to bitch about this, so let's go ahead and get to it here. The following contest, scheduled for one fall, is a Teddy Long special. That's right. Tag match, playa. As the Metro Brothers, they said their names, but damn if I can remember them.
JC and something.
Lance. That's right, because I thought to myself, in sync. That's right. Well, they want this match back. But they take on the in-ring debut in NXT Full Sail of the War Raiders. Go ahead, I know you're going to.
It will always be War Machine to me.
Yeah, tell that to the people at Marvel, sir.
Their name is invalid. It will always be War Machine. It's just not gonna sound right if they're like, it's War Raiders, World Domination.
Again, tell that to the people at Marvel. The WWE doesn't want a lawsuit on their hands. I understand why they did it.
I know why they did it, but still.
That being said, absolutely hilarious seeing Ray Rowe just straight up murder a jobber right at the opening bell.
Of course.
There's just something fun about watching these two beat up people, isn't there?
Oh, well, not only that, but also, and I mean, we saw it a little bit in this match, and obviously they're still using the same finisher that they did in New Japan. But I still their transition to WWE is not complete and is not satisfactory until we see Hanson do a moonsault.
I think we'll get there eventually. I think you got to build up to that moment there. You don't want to just give that in the throwaway, and especially not against the jobber team.
Oh no, I agree with that. But like, my biggest fear for them is that, and like I said, same thing goes for Ricochet. NXT is one thing, main roster is completely different. But I don't want them to just be, they're big guys, just make them do big guy moves. No. I want Hanson to do a freaking moonsault. It's just so impressive to see.
Again, I think we get there. I just think it's going to take a lot.
I agree.
All right. That being said, you mentioned it here, and we do see them keep their New Japan Independent Ring of Honor finish of Fallout, the back suplex flying leg drop combination, as War Raiders. Go ahead.
It's War Machine. World Domination.
Pick up the win at 1 minute and 45 seconds. You smell that, Brandon?
Yes.
Smells like squash.
Yep.
Shayna Baszler decides to overthrow the women's locker room, and I want to say first, it is awesome to see that Serena Deeb stuck around as a trainer. Hell yes.
Didn't they announce that?
Well, it was nice to see her back on television, too. Now I kind of want to see Shayna Baszler and Serena Deeb. What? Sue me. I like Serena Deeb.
I'm perfectly fine with it. With a surprise appearance by Luke Gallows.
Wait, what?
You don't get the reference?
Oh, really? You just went straight edge society on me?
Yes,
really?
I did.
Well, I mean, I guess Ray Rowe was throwing up the straight edge X in the previous match. Why the hell not, right? Anyway. Dakota Kai gets up and walks out on Shayna Baszler, which kind of teases the fact that they are going to go back to Shayna Baszler and Dakota Kai, which, frankly, I have no problem with.
I personally prefer a rematch because, honestly, the only other person and pretty much all you've got left besides Nikki Cross on the women's division in NXT right now are people from the Mae Young Classic. I honestly think the first feud that she should have for the title is a rematch for with the finals
against Kairi Sane.
Yes.
See, I think that they give her Dakota Kai as a way to establish her run, and then we probably see the Kairi Sane rematch at SummerSlam.
Okay. That makes some sense.
After that, we see a Kona Reeves video package. And if you can tell me more than one thing about Kona Reeves, you will know one thing more about Kona Reeves than I do.
I've, seen his name around, but when I saw the video package start, I was like, who the hell is this? And then it said his name, I was like, oh, okay.
I remember seeing the name and seeing him get brain-busted by Austin Aries. That was about the extent of what I remember of this kid.
Pretty much same here.
Pete Dunne is walking away from the Performance Center as he's about to catch a flight back to jolly old England when he is asked his opinion of Roderick Strong. He states that he will be back in a few weeks, and it's Roderick Strong's ass when he does get back. I'm going to make the prediction right now. We talked about this before, Brandon, when we were doing our preview for TakeOver, when we did the SmackDown WrestleMania NXT preview.
Mm-hmm.
And now, especially, I talked about this on the Raw reaction after NXT TakeOver as well. Undisputed Era, Cole, O'Reilly, Strong, British Strong Style, Dunn, Bate, and 7.
So all 6 of them in Undisputed Era? 3-on-3 tag match between the 3.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going towards a 6-man tag here.
I could see that.
We're going to do the Undisputed Era B team because Bobby Fish is out with the ACL injury. So O'Reilly, Cole, and Roderick Strong now filling in for Bobby Fish, taking on the fully united British Strong Style group of Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, and Trent Seven.
But so based on this, and based on how he's talking and everything, does this mean that the British Strong Style team is a face team in this scenario?
It does. And in fairness, I think Full Sail's much more likely to cheer Pete Dunne anyway.
Yeah.
Dunne might be one of the most over guys at Full Sail. You hear the reactions he gets.
That is true. Let me just go back real quick to the whole Shayna Baszler thing. I really hope that this whole thing with her, now that she's a champion, thinking that she's above everyone, I hope this whole thing continues and then culminates with, against Kairi Sane in a Lumberjill match, and everyone is just able to beat the holy hell out of her.
I'm going to be curious to see what they do with the women's division in NXT, especially with the announcement that we're going to get another Mae Young Classic a little bit later on in the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like we're going to see some of the women who maybe did not get the opportunity after the first Mae Young Classic return for the second one and maybe see their chance to shine in the WWE. Mm-hmm. I'm specifically looking at names like Tessa Blanchard
mm-hmm.
and the alpha female, Jazzy Gabbert.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that Jazzy has fully recovered from her neck injury that kept her from getting a contract in the first place.
Yeah.
Our next contest scheduled for one fall with toys,
Yes.
is a no disqualification match as Lars Sullivan takes on Killian Dain. And after we found out what we found out on SmackDown this week with Sanity being called up to the main roster, sans Nikki Cross in a move that makes zero sense, although I kind of understand it now that I found out the reason.
I mean, in terms of Sanity, it doesn't make any sense because she's been such a big part of the faction. But in terms of, like I mentioned, besides her, everyone else in the women's division on NXT now is from the Mae Young Classic. You want someone a little more veteran, at least in an NXT standard, still holding down the fort. That makes a little more sense.
Not just in NXT standards as well. Nikki Cross is a longtime veteran of the sport in general, and she's somebody that these younger girls that are down in NXT, specifically the people that we saw in the Mae Young Classic that were NXT products, such as a Lacey Evans, such as a Bianca Belair, they have somebody to work with to help continue to hone their in-ring skills as well.
True. That is true.
It is big lads wrestling, Brandon.
It's a hoss fight.
And that was the chant we got at the start of the match.
I love that. I forget who has said it. I don't know if any specific bigger name podcaster or industry person has said it. But to all of those purely WWE fans who talk crap about the indies and say, oh, it's only vanilla midgets and all of this, and saying that how wrestling is becoming too small. Basically, the Vince McMahon lovers, eat your hearts out, because some of the top guys both on the main roster and in NXT are behemoths right now.
We eventually see this match go about 11 minutes, including a table spot, a couple of dive spots, a suplex on a ramp, a John Woo drop kick. The table spot itself is very impressive, as it is the divide that puts Lars Sullivan through the table. He catches it once and hits the Mark Henry fall forward slam. The second time, it puts him through a table in the corner. Killian decides to go for the coast-to-coast drop kick. Sullivan catches him up top, pulls him off, and gets hit with a pair of chair shots, and then the freak accident onto a stack of chairs spells curtains as Lars Sullivan beats Killian Dain at 10 minutes and 52 seconds.
And not to mention, I didn't see exactly where it occurred, but a bloody nose and face.
Do you remember when he went up for the top rope elbow while the chair was on Killian?
Yes. Did he hit his face on the chair?
I think he hit his elbow on the chair, and that's what gashed him.
Ah, okay.
Because I didn't see any blood before that, but I definitely noticed that his arm had a gash in it afterwards, so I think he might have gotten gashed by that chair.
But I could see it, under his nose, on his lip, too.
Well, that was Killian, not Lars. Lars was busted open in the elbow. Killian got it, I would assume maybe his lip busted?
Yeah.
Again, big lads wrestling, though.
Yep.
This is two guys that are there basically to beat the shit out of each other, and that's what they did.
Yep.
A video package gives us all the highlights of everything that has gone on between Andrade Cien Almas and Johnny Gargano. This has now become rendered irrelevant now that Almas and Zelina are called up to SmackDown. Oh, wait, spoiler alert for our main event. The Undisputed Era comes in and makes their way towards a photo shoot. Roderick Strong is carrying a tag team title. Yeah, well, Bobby Fish has a torn ACL. There you go.
I'm kind of disappointed. I get the reason why they did it this way, and I'm okay with it. But I kind of wish they would have done my idea of, even if it was Roderick, where, maybe they were the last ones, where Undisputed Era were the last ones to come out, and, it's just, Kyle O'Reilly coming out, and he's like, hey, we found another member of the, another member for Undisputed Era to replace Adam Cole with for this match. It's Roderick Strong.
See, but then you could have run the possibility of Pete Dunne going into that match alone, and the crowd being so far behind Pete Dunne that he ends up walking out as the tag team champions by himself. I mean, after all, he is the tag team champions,
True, but I don't think they would have done that. That would have created some mega heat on Roderick even more. I feel like even more so than how it went down.
Oh, you didn't. Never mind. All the same, our main event, scheduled for one fall, is Candace Wrestling's in-ring NXT debut taking on Zelina Vega. I may or may not have already spilled the beans that Andrade Almas and Zelina got called up to SmackDown during the Superstar Shakeup. Therefore, the decision in this contest is pretty obvious if you watch SmackDown the night before, or if you're listening to this having watched SmackDown and knowing that Almas and Vega are on their way up. The Wrestlings, Candace and Johnny, get their revenge on Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega when Candice LeRae taps Zelina Vega with the Gargano escape at 3 minutes and 32 seconds.
I mean, it was pretty self-explanatory even without them being called up to the main roster that Gargano and Candice were going to go over on this.
The interesting thing to talk about is post-match here.
Yep.
Oh, wait, there is one other thing to talk about. How hot did Zelina look in her ring gear?
Meh.
America.
I did like how they both put the Gargano escape on together.
See, the finish actually bothered me because I thought the referee should have thrown out the match once Johnny and Almas were in the ring. But that's just one of those things. It's a personal beef.
I can understand that, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, it's a go home happy moment for the crowd at Full Sail there for this show, with Candice finally getting rid of Zelina once and for all.
Exactly.
The big thing to talk about, as I mentioned, coming out of this, though, is what happens post-match, as Johnny once again has a little bit of mic time, and this time he calls out Aleister Black. Black arrives and says that what Johnny wants, Johnny will get. He's on for next week. Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? There's absolutely no chance that has a clean finish, is there?
Nah, I wouldn't think so, unless they're going to move on to someone else after Gargano. But then where do you go from there with Gargano? I feel like Gargano has to get the title at some point.
I feel like Tommy Entertainment may end up getting involved in this match.
But so what? Then you just have them go back to Gargano versus Ciampa again?
I have 4 simple words that we have not heard in NXT ever before.
Okay.
Hell in a Cell.
I like it. If it happens, I would love to see it. And especially with those two.
I can't say that it will happen. I've seen other people make the suggestion. I will not say it is my original idea, but I saw the idea for these two to have NXT's first ever Hell in a Cell match, and I love the concept.
Mm-hmm. As do I.
And there are other people for Aleister. There are other people for Aleister to feud with. I can specifically think of one monster-looking individual who got a big win earlier in tonight's broadcast as Aleister's next opponent.
I definitely agree with that one.
I could totally see Lars Sullivan being the next challenger down the road for Aleister Black. And that officially wraps us up at 58 minutes on the WWE Network.
The big question, though, is who then does Adam Cole face for the U.S. title?
Well, he has Oney Lorcan this next week on NXT TV.
Yeah.
I think you could probably see one of the other people from that NXT, the six-way ladder match from Takeover New Orleans involved with Cole. Ricochet and Velveteen will pair off. Killian Dain's going up to the main roster, which means Lars Sullivan will probably end up with Aleister Black. It kind of leaves EC3 by proxy, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're probably right.
And I have no issue with that. I like EC3.
Hoping Adam Cole beats him.
Yeah, I know. The EC3 hater.
It's kind of funny, though, how they're like, how when he came up, like, or during the match, I think it was during the match, on Saturday, like, during TakeOver, Moro was like, I asked EC3 what that stood for, and he just said this formula for success. It's like there's this inside joke for the TNA fans that know what that really means.
I think it happens eventually. I honestly do think that they go that route. I honestly do think that they go the route of him being Ethan Carter III.
You think they will actually mention it at some point?
I do, and not only do I think they mention it, I think Dixie Carter gets involved somehow.
Oh my god, no. Oh god.
I'm just saying.
I probably agree with you, but oh god. You know what would be even worse, though? She'd probably be like his manager or something. But what would be even worse, but also kind of funny in a way, because then it would basically just be rehashing this from TNA. If Regal has to take a hiatus or something, have Dixie be the new GM.
Okay, let's not go as far as to put Dixie in a position of power, because nobody wants that.
I know this. That's what I'm saying.
You're touching on boundaries that best not be touched on, Brandon. I was just tossing it out there. That's a big fat negatory, sir.
I agree.
And that officially wraps us up for this episode of NXT Television here. Scale of 1 to 10, Bisco, where do you fall?
I'm going to give it an 8. We got, Ricochet's Full Sail debut, at least television-wise, NXT TV taping debut. He had a good match. We got War Machine debut, and they were awesome. We got, more. We got Zelina and Almas finally getting their comeuppance, which was even more awesome. And we got Hoss Fight. So, yeah, it was a good overall show. I liked it a lot.
There were definitely some big lads wrestling on this particular episode. I'm going to fall around a 7.5 for this one here. I think that the only thing that really upset me about tonight's show was the lack of the referee involvement inside of the women's match there, because of the whole Johnny getting involved and Almost getting involved in the match there. More often than not, when people outside forces end up in the ring during the course of a match, we see a referee call for a no contest here.
I think it was more so just because they didn't actually interfere in the match at all. It was just Johnny grabbing Almas and putting him in the Gargano escape as well. So yeah,
but at the same time though, Almas did try to break up the pin.
True. But I think he was stopped quick enough where the ref was like, I'm just gonna let it slide, because he actually didn't do anything.
Either way, we will see the opportunity for Johnny Wrestling going forward as he gets Aleister Black next week on NXT Television. Andrade Cien Almas makes his probable SmackDown debut next Tuesday night as well. Speaking of SmackDown, Brandon, I understand that there's a couple of people on this very broadcast that cover SmackDown on a weekly basis for the Wrestling to the Max Network there.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, noted. Go us. Alrighty then.
Yeah, you get to see more of Almas, and I have to deal with them again. Lovely.
I can't help the fact that you dislike the genuinely talented dude. That's on you, homie. Just throwing it out there. That's on you.
Can I have I don't want this match at all, but I know a lot of fans would absolutely go crazy over it. Can we get the ultimate, just like the ultimate coward heel versus coward heel match, since they're both on SmackDown now, once Maurice is ready to come back?
Are you referring to Miz and Maurice against Almas and Vega?
Yep.
I'd like for WWE to actually be able to not screw up mixed tag wrestling before we
No,
get that.
I'm not saying mixed tag wrestling. I'm saying Miz and Almas going one-on-one with with Maurice and Vega both trying to pull their shenanigans.
Yeah, I still have no interest in that. I have no interest
I'm
in
surprised.
Almas. I have no interest in Almas versus Miz, mostly because I like Miz in and of himself. I like Almas in and of himself. Both of them. The issue that I would have with that the issue that I would have with both Almas and Miz being on the same show is that their characters are very similar in that regard. So
Yes.
I do not want them interacting with each other to put over the similarities in their characters.
But that would be, like, I definitely could see it happening.
Well, I could definitely see it happening too. That doesn't mean I want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. But I think that's going to about wrap us up here, Bisco.
Yeah.
As Brandon mentioned, you can listen to myself, Brandon Biskobing, and Liz Puglisi on the SmackDown Live and 205 Live reviews every Tuesday night here on the W2M Network. In addition, Brandon and somebody, we're not sure who, but somebody will bring you the Monday Night Raw review on Monday here on the W2M Network as well. Stay tuned here for more updates as far as that goes. In addition, there's so much more you can find here on the W2M Network over at W2Mnet.com. You can find stuff about wrestling, video games, entertainment, soccer, football, including the return of the kickoff. Our NFL draft special is coming later this week, everybody, so stay tuned for that too here on the W2M Network. And so many other topics available online at W2Mnet.com or by searching in your favorite podcast listening devices for the W2M Network. Available online at YouTube as well by searching for W2M Network on YouTube.com.
Apparently we'll be on Spotify soon.
I did see that. I can't wait. I listen to so many podcasts on Spotify. I'll be glad to add myself to the rotation. More hits for me. Woohoo! So, for Brandon Biskobing, I am Harry Broadhurst, thanking you for listening to the Wrestling to the Max NXT review here for April 18th, 2018. Brandon will be back next week with NXT. I may be here as well. We'll have a good one, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.